Good morning and welcome to you on this fine late August day here in England. It's the 30th of August today, and we're having a very fine, well, it's almost like what they call an Indian summer, isn't it? So I'm going to make some comments today about a very, very controversial figure. And I've actually sort of framed it, if you like, by an interview that this figure, this person, this man, this 40-year-old, early 40-year-old, 41-year-old man gave to Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson, if you don't know him, is a Canadian academic who has really pursued a career, if you like, in journalism subsequent to his academic career. And he interviewed this gentleman very recently, and I wanted to. He's a very controversial figure, and I wanted to sort of do as a balanced, as you would expect from me, a balanced sort of. Forgive me while I have a slurp of tea. I wanted to do as balanced a sort of view of this guy as possible. So who am I going to be talking about? Well, I'm going to be talking about a man who was born Stephen Yaxley-Lennon on the 27th of the 11th, 82. And he is now a 41-year-old who is mired in controversy and and he's under a degree of spotlight by the establishment, by the British establishment. And Tommy Robinson is the name of the guy, and he was born as Stephen Yaxley-Lennon in Luton 41 years ago. And I wanted to allow Tommy Robinson to tell his own story to a degree. And I think, and I'll put up a link to the interview that Peterson and his wife Tammy actually is involved in the interview too, as he interviews Tommy Robinson. So what sort of facts can we ascertain about Tommy Robinson? Well, he is an organizer. He is a person who can organize things. There's no doubt about that. And he is labeled, if you like, as a far right organizer, as an organizer of far right events. Now, this tickled my fancy a little bit because I thought, well, if he's far right, he would be espousing, if you like, classic fascist ideology. And obviously fascism was something that Benito Mussolini put forward in the 1920s and came to power as the first European fascist leader, as far as I'm aware. And he was a model, if you like, for later fascist leaders, and obviously in particular the fascist leader of Nazi Germany. So he's labelled as this far right leader, but I'm not sure he actually is. However, let's let Tommy Robinson speak for himself. At 21 years of age, he organised Ban the Luton Taliban. He was, and it's well documented, he was for a year a member of the British National Party, which was, and I don't know if it still exists, is a far right party. Robinson, I'll use his adopted name if you like, Tommy Robinson. He was part of, if you like, the white working class football culture. It was very much a sort of go to the football, go out for a pint with the lads type of a culture, a white working class culture. He formed in 2009, and I think this is the telling thing, the English Defence League, which now no longer exists. And Tommy Robinson said that as part of the English Defence League, it wasn't classic far right. He had a section for Sikhs and Jews and blacks, but it was predominantly made up of white working class young men, and to a degree later, young women. It wasn't classic far right in the classic fascist sense. So there's no racial there's no hierarchy with the Aryan races at the top. It's not classic far right whatsoever, as far as I can see. In a strict sense, it is not far right ideology. It isn't, Robinson himself admits that he was for a year a member of the British National Party, but the EDL wasn't far right in that strict doctrinaire sense. And that doesn't mean I don't think that there probably were people from the far right who gravitated into the EDL and its quite sharp rise in and around the Luton area in the early part of this century. His issue is mass uncontrolled immigration. And his other issue is the grooming rape gangs of Rochdale, etc. They're a great concern for Tommy Robinson, and rightly so. They have been, he has in that sense been vindicated about those concerns. And I'm not quite sure if the full story of the Rochdale grooming gangs has been fully told, although it has been, the spotlight has fallen on the Rochdale grooming gangs to a degree. I think there's a lot more to be told there. Robinson claims fundamentally that Islam has failed. It's not, it's failed on its non-integration, it's zero assimilation. Islam is inward looking. He's against jihadism. And I've talked about this in some of my other videos, against the Muslim Brotherhood philosophy, if you like, of jihad, which is, again, very clearly documented. I don't think there's any issue about that. So strictly speaking, he's not far right. And on the 27th of July, to bring it bang up to date in 2024, there were 100,000 people gathered, and it was a peaceful demonstration at Trafalgar Square. It was a fairly cosmopolitan demonstration as well. It wasn't just white working class people, male and female. It was a fairly broad demonstration, if you like, of people who feel part of Britain and who are demonstrating as such on behalf of their values. And it had a strict non-violence policy there. There was a very strict not wearing black balaclavas, black clothing. There was a very strict and a very strong anti-violence, and it passed off peacefully. Subsequent to that was the Southport massacre and murder of 3 very young children. And if you like, that set the whole thing on fire. And Robinson was sort of wrapped up in that. And Jordan Peterson, to his credit, questions him very, very closely. It's probably perhaps the best discussion with Robinson. And I'm not an expert on Tommy Robinson, but the actual Jordan Peterson episode is episode 476, and it's labelled Crime and Punishment. And it's led by Jordan Peterson with input from Tammy Peterson, Jordan's wife. It's worth watching as Jordan Peterson questions Tommy Robinson very closely, and as you would expect as an academic and somebody with a very probing mind, very logically. And Tammy Peterson raises an issues, and I'm gonna leave it here. I want to keep this under 10 minutes. There's the free speech issue Tammy Peterson raises about Britain at the moment. Is there free speech fully in Britain at the moment? Tammy Peterson talks about putting a light to dark places, and why has Muslim culture become so strong in the West? And she raises that as a question. And she also then raises the issue of a dilution of Christian values in the West. And she talks then about about common sense and faith lacking in the West. And I think what she does, and I'm not going into that interview with Tammy and Jordan Peterson, but I will put the link up, as I said. But I think it's very important to sort of try and tease out about Tommy Robinson and what he is about. And I think there is a degree of persecution of him. And even the Daily Mail is very anti Tommy Robinson. But if you actually unpack what Tommy Robinson is saying, he is not a classic fascist. He is not a classic Nazi. And that's not to say that people haven't affixed themselves to his philosophy who may have that sort of, sort of identity, if you like, or that's the political philosophy. But I think Robinson is more a working class, white working class Luton boy who is a good organiser. And I think, to be fair to him, that 100,000 attended that rally at Trafalgar Square, and that ought to make people think and sit up and take note. I hope you appreciate what I've presented here today. May you have a blessed day. God has been blessing me, and I hope he is blessing you too. Have a great day. Thank you. If you like this, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and I'd really appreciate it. We're going to try and get to 500 subscribers now. Thank you, and goodbye, and God bless.